fact is that the Jewish community has a real debt to the Islamic community, because when we were kicked out of Catholic Spain in 1492, when we were kicked out of Catholic Portugal, I think in 1503, it was the Muslims who took the Jews in. That's why there are Jewish communities in the Islamic world till this very day. The Islamic community, the Jewish community of Istanbul dates from then.
Like, I saw your video with Shmuley, and I find like Shmuley, I wouldn't be able to talk to him for more than 1 second. Why? Because he right away starts with insults, propaganda, ad hominems. Like, he's a bad example of religion. Like, he's wearing the kippah and all that. Look, I think there's bad examples in every religion, okay? But he's such a vile version. And I have a lot of Jewish friends that are good, honest people. You could sit down with them, have a rational discussion. There's good and bad in every religion, okay? But he's such a bad example.
I told him
in my
that.
opinion,
I told him that I feel bad for Jews because he's the worst representation of Jews that could possibly
the
exist.
worst.
He like embodies all the anti-Semitic stereotypes in one. Even though, you know, you're an actual Semite, that word anti-Semitic gets thrown around for Polish people. Regardless,
I'm more Jewish than him, by the way. I'm more Jewish than him. I'm more Semitic than he is.
Yeah.
I believe in the afterlife. You know, he doesn't believe in the afterlife. He did a debate with Hitchens where he was like, oh, the afterlife is just basically how your kids remember you. What are you talking about, man? If you read Maimonides, the greatest Jewish thinker, it's a prerequisite. If you have to believe in the resurrection, if you don't, you're not a Jew, according to Maimonides. Now, Maimonides, okay, you don't have to agree with him. You could say, oh, we don't agree with him. Fine. But he's the guy who defined what a Jew is. He's the greatest thinker in Jewish history. Are you really that Jewish? Well, I would tell you, Maimonides thinks I'm more Jewish than you. I believe in all your prophets. I believe in the resurrection. I believe in God. I believe the next life is literal. And you're here saying to Hitchens, oh, well, maybe the afterlife is just how your kids remember you, kind of thing. You know, it's just like a capitulation, a complete capitulation. He threw out the Torah, basically. Like, he's such a bad example. And somebody explained to me, how on earth he's sitting his granddaughter down and touching her in a way that's completely like absurd, abhorrent, and nobody criticizes him for it. Nobody's putting cuffs on this guy. Nobody's reviewing what the hell. Like, somebody explained that he's touching her in her chest region. He's caressing her. How insane is that? How does he get away with it? Like,
he's a rabbi. It's not even like he's a religious leader. You're acting like he's just like a random Jew who's become an Israeli apologist. He's a spokesperson and a leader in the community. And he sells dildos with his daughter. I called him out on this. I'm wondering, what did you think of that debate? Because it was pretty impromptu, and I didn't expect it to happen. I didn't want it.
I think I listened to it. Maybe like my fans were asking me to listen to it, so I turned it on for a few minutes. But it's just pure Shmuley. Like when this guy stepped in, he's like, "Oh, you want to attack me?" And he starts making a huge debate. Like, okay, dude. First of all, SNEAKO doesn't need protection. First of all, you probably slap him and knock him out with one slap. But like, he's like, oh, you need this guy to protect you now? Oh, wow, you guys want to threaten me now? This is all like, it's just like he's the Don King of like, just like promoting the most vile aspect of human dialogue. Like, if you bought two religious people from two different faiths and they really believe in God, I think they're gonna have a humble dialogue. They're gonna think about right and wrong, morality. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not murder, thou shalt not lie. How could you speak in that way and think, oh, I know I believe in God. I represent God here. Because, you know, the thing is, people say the Jews are the chosen people. Yeah, they were chosen to be a light upon the world. What's a light upon the world? To teach morality to the world. I took ancient Judaism. Like, I studied in university. They were supposed to be a light onto the world. That's their mission. What does it mean, a light onto the world? Teach people, don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, you know, be humble. Like, they were supposed to be a good example. Shmuley's not doing that. You know, Shmuley's propagating, arguing, screaming at the top of his lungs that he's being always attacked by these anti-Semites, which is like absurd. You know, they'll call you anti-Semite, but they won't call you a liar. Where did I lie? Where did I go wrong factually? Where's no, you're an anti-Semite. No, wait a second. Why am I an anti-Semite? Why am I an anti-Semite? If I get attacked by a Chinese guy and I defend myself, am I anti-Chinese? Am I anti-Asian? Am I racist of some sort? If a bad guy attacks me and I defend myself, am I racist? Where is it that we're factually wrong? Where is the argument breakdown? He never brings that up. He's always just constantly talking about, I mean, we'd have to bring it up. I didn't memorize the dialogue, but I just remember it's pure Shmuley all the time. I'm the victim here. I'm being attacked. Look at, he's just like, he thinks we're so dumb that it's convincing. He thinks he can convince us with such stupid arguments. It's wild. Actually, I wouldn't mind. I don't know if you know how to play it right now. It'd be funny to kind of listen to it because
you want to?
His arguments are always ad hominem. you're evil, you're bad, and that's why you're against me. He's never actually debating any points.
Yeah, I can bring it up here. But I think it's very funny. You sent me one of his videos earlier. What was I didn't get the chance to see it yet.
Oh, you should play that video if you haven't.
I can play it right
Where
now.
he praises Islam, basically. He loves Islam.
Really?
He's going to say something. Yeah, he says something about Islam that most people don't know about. We could talk a little bit about the history of Islam. I think people might find it interesting.
Do you find it difficult to speak about these subjects in the MMA world? Do you get pushback? Do you get called racist, anti-Semitic?
No. I don't. I only talk about people. I only talk about things that people ask me about. Like I won't bring it up if people are not like, if we're in an MMA settings and we're talking fighting, I'm not going to bring up religion. We're talking about fighting. But I have a channel where we talk about fitness, MMA, boxing, jiu-jitsu, and then it's Ask Me Anything. So people often ask me about religion and logic and philosophy because that's what I studied.
Actually, I kind of don't want to hear his voice. It's very unpleasant.
Yeah, and you're our biggest customer. By the way, he has the friends and family discount, everybody.
Disgusting.
Let me tell you something.
Are you calling me disgusting? You sell dildos with your daughter.
Let me tell you something.
You sell dildos with your daughter.
No, sir.
I saw you dance on a child at a wedding.
No, sir.
You
No,
twerk
sir.
on children.
What you believe
You have
is
a
that
mom and pop
Jews
shop
are
with your daughter.
murderers, killers.
Do I? When did I say that?
You said we did 9/11.
When did I say that? I said Israel.
Okay, yeah, I don't really want to hear his voice, to be honest with you.
All
I've
right, no
seen it
problem.
several times.
Play if you can't play that clip I sent you.
Let's see this one.
It's an interesting one, and I'm amazed Muslims don't bring this up. Like they don't drive this point home. I mean,
Is George St. Pierre, is he Christian?
he's kind of. I don't like to talk about his personal faith because he likes to keep it private.
Yeah.
But he's a searcher. Let's just say.
Okay.
Did Shalom on
He looks very coherent. I think I have seen this before. He seems very coherent compared to how he was in the debate.
Did Shalom on the home.
How do you regard the breakdown of communities? And for example, how do you regard Islam in the Muslim world nowadays? It's been very negatively stereotyped.
Well, look, I'm actually, interestingly enough, as an Orthodox Jew, a great champion of Islam. The fact is that the Jewish community has a real debt to the Islamic community because when we were kicked out of Catholic Spain in 1492, when we were kicked out of Catholic Portugal, I think in 1503, it was the Muslims who took the Jews in. That's why there are Jewish communities in the Islamic world till this very day. The Islamic community, the Jewish community of Istanbul dates from then. It was specifically countries not beyond the Ottoman Empire where Jews were tolerated and they were welcomed in. And they paid a jizya. There was a poll tax they paid, but they were never persecuted. And there wasn't a Holocaust in the Islam.
So he admits that there was no Holocaust and that Muslims and Jews were able to coexist and that Muslims even defended and took in the Jews.
We are not anti-Semitic. Look, Islam saved the Jews. Islam saved Jewry. That's their quote from David Wasserstein. David Wasserstein, he teaches Jewish studies. He said, look, if it wasn't for Muslim conquest, it's very likely Judaism wouldn't exist. Okay, because you had the Romans, you had the Persians. They didn't allow mingling of Jewish people. They suppressed Jewish people. When Islam took over those two empires, the Jewish people can now live freely as dhimmis, okay, protected people. A dhimmi is a protected person. Now, Jewish people flourished. Every time Islam flourished, David Wasserstein says, Judaism flourished. They coincided. The golden age of Islam was the golden age of Judaism. The Jews did well under Islam. They survived and they thrived. Under Christianity, they were being eradicated. What is Shmuley saying? He's saying, look, the Muslims from Catholic Spain, they rescued the Jews. The Ottomans rescued the Jews. How can we be anti-Semitic? It's impossible. First of all, we can marry Jewish women. How are you going to be anti-Semitic? Your in-laws and your wife is going to be Jewish. It's an absurdity. And there's Shmuley in that video admitting that not only did that Muslims rescue the Jews, there was never a Holocaust in the Jewish world. The Muslim world. The friction that started between Muslims and Jews was the start of Israel. Because the Muslims were like, hey, you guys don't want to use the Europeans to attack us? Because don't forget, the Europeans were trying to eradicate the Jews. We rescued them. They lived under Muslim rule for hundreds and hundreds of years, nearly 1,000 years. Okay. Then in modern era, last 100 years, they flipped on us. They sided with the Europeans to fight us. But for 800 years, they were living under our rule, protected from Europe. It's the Europeans that wanted to eradicate them. It's the Christians that wanted to eradicate them. You had Catholic Spain, okay? Catholic Spain wanted to literally murder. It's called the Spanish Inquisition. Look it up, okay? They wanted to murder every single Jew. The founder of the Protestant religion, Martin Luther, read what he says about the Jews. He says, look, we tried to convert them. They don't want to convert. You have to eradicate every one of them. Burn everything they built. If you can't burn it, bury everything they built. Get rid of every single one of them. Why? The Christians say that they're responsible for the death of Christ. If you read the Gospel of Matthew, Matthew is saying, the blood is on your hands and your children. The blood of who? The blood of Christ. The blood of Jesus Christ is on... I don't believe this. You don't believe this. We don't believe this. Okay? The Christians at the time interpreted it as they're the ones who killed Jesus Christ. All of them. Not one of them. Not the group at that time. All of them. Because it says the blood is on your hands and your children. Now, if you read the Quran exonerates the Jews. So here's what people don't know. Okay, a lot of people don't know this, but you have the Old Testament and you have the New Testament. The New Testament is blaming the Jewish people for the death of Christ. They call it the greatest crime in history. Then after a while, the Jews started writing the Talmud. The Talmud is a Jewish book written by rabbis, who some say is even higher than the Torah. Okay? In the Talmud, it says, yes, Jesus came, and yes, we killed him. We put him up on a
Crucifix.
Not a crucifix, but they say like a stick. Okay, they hung him. Okay, they stoned him. They hung them for blasphemy, and they say that he's now burning in hell an excrement, and that his mother was pregnant.
And his mother
feces.
was a whore, yeah.
His mother got pregnant by a Roman soldier. That's what really happened. So they insult Jesus. Okay, so you have to understand the dynamic. Now you have the Old Testament. Then you have the New Testament. The New Testament says the people of the Old Testament are responsible for this crime, murdering Jesus. Then you have the Talmud that admits to the crime. The Christians are saying, you guys killed Christ. The Jews killed Christ. And then the Talmud is saying, yes, we killed Christ. Okay? You follow? The Quran says, listen to what the Quran is saying. The Quran comes after the Talmud. The Quran is saying the Jews are boasting about killing Christ. Okay? Mm-hmm. Because if you read the verse about the crucifixion, it says, the Jews say, Jesus, son of Mary, the Messiah, oh yeah, we killed him, okay? We crucified him, we killed him. Now the Quran says it's not true. No, they didn't crucify him, nor did they kill him. So the Quran is saying, even though some scriptures or some Jews claim they killed him, it's not true. They're not responsible for the greatest crime in history. Why were the Jews, by the way, hated so much throughout history? Holocaust, genocides, pogroms. Why were they hunted down? All because of the Christian interpretation that they're responsible for the worst crime in history. What's the worst crime in history? The blood of Christ.
Killing God.
They shed the blood of Christ. What's that?
Killing God.
Killing God. The Quran is saying they did not kill God. Even if they say they did, they didn't. What did that do? That exonerates them. In our tradition, the Jew is not criminal. He's not a criminal. He's not responsible for murdering God. Astaghfirullah. You can't even say this. How could a group of people murder God? It's impossible to us, right? So Muslims didn't have a view that these people need to be hunted down or whatnot. Now, again, I want to stress something really important. That was an interpretation at a time where Christians had a dark interpretation. Okay, they literally wanted to hunt down every last Jewish person. Okay, now today Christians don't think that. They don't interpret things the same way. Okay, so I want to be clear on that. There was a time where select influencers in Christianity interpreted it that way, and you can interpret it that way because they did. Islam always interpreted it as they're not responsible for the death of Christ. It's literally explicitly expressed in the Quran. It's the Jews boasting they killed Christ, and then the Quran refuting them, saying, no, you didn't crucify him, nor did you kill him.
But the Quran does say that the Jews killed some prophets.
Yes, but not Christ. Mm-hmm. Nobody's hunting down the Jews for killing prophets or not obeying Moses, alayhi salam. You understand?
It's Jesus.
It's literally for this one event, because they say, hey, you killed God. You killed a sinless man. So what I'm trying to tell you is, in history, Islam exonerates the Jews. We never had a Holocaust. You heard Shmuley say it himself. I don't know. I didn't hear it, but I hope your listeners can hear it. Look, Shmuley says, look, we owe a great debt. In the video, he's saying we owe a great debt to the Muslim world. Why? They protected us during Catholic Spain. They never had a Holocaust. We thrived under their reign. You should read the works of David Wasserstein. David Wasserstein explains more reasons on why the Muslims protected and saved the Jews. Okay, don't forget, when the Jewish people were being persecuted by the Christians, the Ottomans sent ships to rescue the Jews. Why? Because to us, they're dhimmi. They're a protected people. They're in our book. Okay, so it's a very, very important thing. And a lot of people don't know about the conquest of Jerusalem. When Jerusalem Here's what people have to know, okay? Basic history. Basic history. The Jews were kicked out of Jerusalem in the year 70 by the Romans. The Romans occupied the Jews. The Jews lived under the Roman rule, and they were being crushed and persecuted and tortured, and their women being raped and just abducted. Caesar wanted to put a statue of himself in the temple. That's where the Jews draw the line. You won't put a statue of Caesar in the temple. You had a group called the Sakari. The Sakari were a Jewish group. They carried a blade. The blade was a Sakari blade, okay? They called it the Sakari. This blade, they were the Hamas of the day. The Sakari was Hamas. The Jews had a group called Sakari. You could call them Hamas, okay? Because you know what Hamas means? Like, you know what a zealot is? A zealot? Somebody who's very religious, somebody who like takes it to an extreme, okay? The zealots was a name for a certain group of Jews, okay? Because these Sakari, they were also called zealots. I don't want to make it complicated. In the year 70, Rome was on top of the Jews. They were crushing the Jews. They were trying to get the Jews to capitulate and worship Caesar. The Jews didn't want to worship Caesar. They'd rather fight with a bitter end than worship Caesar. The Sakari were saying, we won't negotiate with Rome. We won't do diplomacy. And even the Jews who would do diplomacy with the Romans, they would get killed by the Sakari. So you had Jews even killing Jewish people. You had extremist Jews, is what I'm trying to say. Hardcore extremist Jews that said, look, we got to liberate Jerusalem at the time, from any Roman influence whatsoever. We got to eradicate the Romans. We got to get them out. They were extreme. Then you had more moderate Jews who were like, hey, we can live together. Let's just make rules where we don't have to worship Caesar, etc. In the year 70, the Romans expelled the Jews. They burned their temple. Now, when you go to Jerusalem today, you see the Jews, they have something they refer to as the Wailing Wall. You see the Jews praying to the wall?
Yeah, I see people like Floyd Mayweather, they go up and they...
Yes. Floyd will do anything for money, but that's a topic for another day. Floyd, if you got the money, man, he'll kiss anything. He'll wail to any wall. Don't worry. Tomorrow, if you have money, he's gonna go to the mosque and pray. Don't worry. More money, he'll put on a cross and go to the church. Yeah. Even more money, he'll go to India.
Well, it's not just Mayweather. It's every American politician. It's just a funny picture of them.
Yeah, but it's all about money. But you see that wall? That's the last surviving wall. In the year 70, the Romans burned down the temple. They crushed the temple. That's the one wall remaining. So that wall is really old. It's 2,000 plus years old. 2,000 years ago, they burned down the Jewish temple and they kicked out all the Jews. You know what they did with that space where the temple used to be? They turned it into a garbage site. Because later the Rome converts to Christianity and the Christians turned the temple of the Jews into a garbage site. Now, the Muslims come and conquer Jerusalem. About over 500 years later, the Muslims come and they conquer Jerusalem. Omar bin Khattab.
The Ottomans, which empire?
No. The Sahaba. Omar bin Khattab. Okay. I'll send you a really good lecture from a non-Muslim who details all of this. Okay. Now you have to understand something about Muslim conquest. Muslim conquest is very different. Okay, especially when we say the rightly guided Khalifa, because later on Muslims did bad things that are not Sunnah. Okay, but the Sunnah, when Muslims conquer, they're rightly guided. If you do it by the book, if you do it by the religious standards, you don't expel the people. When Umar ibn Khattab conquered Jerusalem, he didn't kill any civilians. He only expelled the politicians. That's it. And he allowed them to take their gold and their riches, whatever they can carry. You can leave. But the politicians had to go. The government has to go. They only fight wars against the government. The Sunnah, you can only fight wars against the government, not the people. The people are innocent. The people are dhimmi. They're protected people.
Very different than Israel's tactics today.
Exactly. We fight the government. That's why I don't agree with Hamas. Hamas was shooting at civilians as well. But that's another topic, okay? Because I think there's war crimes on both sides.
Allegedly.
Well, okay. Well, we'll talk about that because I think there is some atrocities that have to be admitted to. Okay, but we'll talk about that. Yeah. Omar bin Khattab, he conquers Jerusalem in the year 70. Sorry, not the year 70. 500 plus years after the year 70. Okay, so nearly more than 500 years passes. The Muslims finally arrive. They conquer Jerusalem. What happens? Omar bin Khattab asks them to show him where is the temple of the Jews, and they show it to him, and it's a garbage site. Omar bin Khattab, the Sahaba of the Prophet ﷺ, he walked with the Prophet every day. He was with the Prophet every day. When he saw it was a garbage site, he went and he started clearing the garbage out with his own hands. Now, don't forget, at the time, he's the world's most powerful man. Don't forget, at this time, right now, the Muslims are the most powerful nation in the world. He's cleaning out the garbage with his own hand. All the Muslims start cleaning out the temple. And what did the Muslims do? Omar bin Khattab ordered a colony of Jews to return to Jerusalem. He brought back the Jews to Jerusalem. Who brought back the Jews to Jerusalem?
Muslims.
It's the Muslims.
So they should return the
The
favor
Jews
today.
were expelled for over 500 years. They couldn't go to Jerusalem for 500 years. Who brought them back? The Jews always were successful when Islam was successful. Always. Every Islamic success resulted in a Jewish success. That's not my words. That's David Wasserstein's word, a professor of Jewish studies. Islam protected and made way for the Jewish people. Why did he bring back the Jews? Because they're part of our religion. We believe in their prophets. Their Aqidah is very close to ours. What do you think about that? Did you know any of this?
I did.
By the way?
But then why? So if their Aqidah was very similar, then why does Rabbi Shmuley and Ben Shapiro, the two instances where they have a completely different faith? So Ben Shapiro saw Trump won the election, and he says, "Well," he tweets, "Well done, God." Rabbi Shmuley, when talking about October 7th on the day of the election, he's like, "God was sleeping on October 7th." So we don't believe in that. Like, we believe everything happens for a reason, that God has a plan. But the way that they talk about God, it's like God is an employee for them. Like, he works when he does a good job. Well done.
Do you think they believe in God?
I think so.
I think they believe in their God. I believe every human in their heart of hearts believes in God. But do you think they think about God? They're always in a forgetful state. Okay. They use God as a weapon. It's a talking point. It's a weapon. It's a cult. Look, Israel was founded not by believers. It was founded by secular individuals. Yet they call it a Jewish state. But Jewish to them doesn't mean religion anymore. To them, Jewish means you're born a certain race. It's an ethnicity and a religion, but you don't have to practice a religion. You can be an atheist and be a Jew in their mind. Yeah. You understand?
Like Seth Rogen, Hollywood Jews, all these people. I would argue that a lot of their religion, their faith and their belief, what they think about more is the Holocaust. They put more faith into that than they do into anything that is written in the Torah.
Right. That's why I say, look, I'm more Jewish than Rabbi Shmuley. I actually literally believe in God. I'm actually Semitic. I'm more Semitic than Netanyahu, that's for sure. I would love to see a DNA test from Netanyahu. I want to see if his blood is more Semitic than mine. I bet anything it's not.
DNA tests are banned in Israel for this reason.
No, exactly. Exactly. But look, I also understand they're culturally and traditionally Jewish. You don't have to be genetically Jewish. They're the ones who are saying that. They're saying, look, your mother has to be from a Jewish line. It has to go back to Abraham. But their line doesn't go back to Abraham. They mixed culture with genetics. So look, religion is two things. Okay, Judaism is two things. It's a culture and it's a religion. It's an ethnicity and it's a religion. We're conflating the two things all the time. And was it Ben Gvir who said? Not Ben Gvir. I'm forgetting the founder of Israel now. He was saying, look, there's no exact definition for Jew. Okay, so what's a Jew? It's what we tell you is a Jew. So they're not going by the text. They're not going by the Torah. They're going by what they see fit. So for instance, if you're a Jew and you want to be atheist, that's fine. If you convert to Islam, you lose your citizenship. If you convert to Christianity, you're done. So, but he's ethnically Jewish. He's born from a Jewish mother. No, it doesn't matter. You converted to one of those two religions, you're done. Atheist will accept you. So it's not really a religion anymore. It's become something else. You know, it's a type of culture, genetic, religion, race. It's a blend of everything. So they tell us what's a Jew. Okay, so they tell us, well, now I have a definition of Jew. I think a definition of Jew is one, you believe in God. I don't think you can be an atheistic Jew. I think that's an oxymoron. It doesn't exist. You're culturally Jewish, you claim to be Jewish, but for me, that's very superficial Judaism. Very superficial. You don't believe in God. I don't know if Shmuley believes in God. Honestly, like, not in his everyday behavior. Like, I couldn't behave like that because I'd be worried that I'm angering God.
You have fear. He doesn't have fear for God.
I have a fear of Allah. I have a fear of God. You know, he's touching his daughter and he's dancing and he's acting like, you're a rabbi, man. You're selling sex toys with your daughter. You're putting your daughter up. Like, she has, like, look, there's nothing wrong with sex. Sex is a perfectly halal thing if you're doing it with your wife, whatnot. But have some shame. You're trying to promote like sex toys and things that.
So what separates a real Jew from a Muslim? Because they're monotheistic, are they not? And it seems like they have, like you said, real Jews.
Of course.
So yeah, what's
the difference
they're monotheistic between a Jew and a Muslim?
Well, look, here's the thing. Okay, some Jews believe in Muhammad alayhi salam. Some of them do, but they say this. Okay, look at what they say. They say Muhammad was for the Gentile. Muhammad alayhi salam is for the Gentile because look, you have Abraham, right? Alayhi salam. He had two women, Hagar and Sarah. Hagar gave birth to Isaac. Hagar gave birth to Ishmael alayhi salam. Prophet Muhammad comes from Ishmael alayhi salam. The Jewish line comes from Isaac alayhi salam. We're two lines from the same man, Prophet Abraham. You understand? We're two half brothers. We're literally half brothers. Now, in the Bible, it says, tells Abraham, it commands Abraham, take Ishmael alayhi salam and take him to the desert. Now, where he takes him in the desert, the Bible describes as where is Saudi Arabia today. And Abraham prays for Ishmael, and he says, don't worry about Ishmael. I'm going to make him a great nation. Like you see the stars, that's how many descendants you're going to have. Don't worry about Ishmael. I'm going to make him a great nation. The Bible is promising that Ishmael is going to be a great nation. What nation came out of Saudi Arabia? There's only one. The Prophet's nation, alayhi salam, Islam. And how many are we? We're like the number of the stars. They can't deny we exist from their lineage. You can't deny it, because either the prophecy is not true, it never happened. It did. Obviously, there's a great nation from Saudi Arabia. That's us. And guess what? We believe in one God. We keep the Torah. We keep the law of the. We keep the 10 Commandments. We believe in the Torah. It's a complex topic, but we believe in the essence of the Torah. We believe in the Injil. We believe in all the prophets. We believe in the other side, the lineage of Isaac. We believe in Isaac. We're part of the same monotheistic faith that goes back to Abraham alayhi salam. You understand? So they can't deny us in this event. So the Jews, a lot of Jews will tell you, will say, look, we believe Muhammad was sent by God because he's from the lineage of Ishmael. They have the correct understanding. I'll send you quotes from rabbis to tell you, look, the only other religion that worships God like we do is Islam. I'll send you many quotes from rabbis saying that. There's only one other religion, like Judaism, that worships God correctly, that understands monotheism, and it's Islam.
So why are they not Muslim?
Because they say in our book, we're promised to this law, this Sharia. We have to maintain it forever. It's an eternal covenant. So they're saying that's a correct Sharia also. But that's for his Sharia, Ishmael's Sharia.
Okay, a different lineage. So
Prophet Muhammad. There's two Moses. There's two men that are. There's the second Moses is Muhammad, alayhi salam. We have a covenant with Moses. We're on this line. You're on the other line. They're both good. They're both true. Understand?
So is that an acknowledgement?
That's the argument. That's the argument. I don't agree with it.
You don't agree with
I'm not saying I agree with it.
Okay.
No, I don't agree with it.
So do you believe
But
that
that's
there's
the
chosen
argument.
people?
I think they were chosen to give us the law. Don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal. But if you don't follow the law, you failed the test. You failed your endeavor. You failed your mission. Understand? They failed the mission.
So you believe the
Now, the
chosen
Jews who
people
kept-
failed the test?
The chosen people who teach don't lie, don't cheat, don't steal, and if their hearts, they look, it's complicated. So basically, I think that if you, it depends on how much knowledge you have, how much you understand, how you look. If you're an honest person, you can do no wrong. I'll give you, for instance, okay. We have a hadith. We have a famous hadith. Okay, let me give you a hadith. This man tells his children, look, when I die, incinerate me, turn me to ash. They say, okay. So he dies, he turns to ash. And then God resurrects him on the day of judgment. God tells him, why did you ask to be cremated? He says, because I feared you. I don't want to face you. Meaning he thought he's a sinner. He's not good enough. He's not worthy of God. So he had such a fear of Allah. He said, look, incinerate me, cremate me, so that God will never be able to resurrect me. Now, to say God can't resurrect you, that's kufr. In the hadith says God enters him into paradise. But he was kufr. To say God cannot resurrect me is kufr. But in his understanding, in his point of view, in his understanding, how he equated the situation, he had a fear of Allah. And because of he had a fear of Allah, even though he had kufr, but his kufr, he doesn't understand his kufr. God knows that if he understood his kufr, he wouldn't have done it. You understand? Because kufr means blasphemy. To say God can't resurrect you because you cremated yourself, that's blasphemy. You don't understand God. But obviously he was not that much of a deep thinker. You understand? Mm-hmm. But God, because the man had a fear of God, he was humble towards God, felt unworthy, was granted paradise. So somebody can have a wrong belief, but his intention is good. So if you were born in a Jewish family and all you know is Judaism and you think you're doing the right thing, you think you're pleasing God, you don't have critical thinking, you've never been exposed to other truths,
you can still make it to heaven.
I think, because the Quran says the Jews and Christians that do good, they have nothing to fear. And then later on the Quran says there's only one path to Allah. So now we have to reconcile the two. And there are different ways scholars reconcile it. I'm telling you that if somebody saw two religions, and he chose one because of pride or loyalty to humans, or because he didn't want to be shamed publicly or whatnot, then he chose other than Allah. Okay, then he's liable. But if that was his best understanding at the time, let's say, for instance, us Muslims do a bad job of representing Islam, and people are turned off by Islam because we're saying all sorts of crazy stuff, like kill them all or whatnot. And people have a fitra inside, oh no, killing people is not good. Murdering people, they have a fitra also, don't forget. They're like, hey, it can't be right what they're saying. If we have a bad example of Islam, we're going to be the ones who are liable. And the Quran says, look, if you don't fulfill your mission, I'll replace you with another people. Like, we have to fulfill our mission. So who's fulfilling our mission? The Quran says God is going to choose between us, because the Quran refers to all sorts of, how we debate and how we have sects and all that. Oh, don't worry, wait till Judgment Day. God is going to choose between you. But what I'm trying to tell you is, if somebody is doing their best to get close to God and they're really being genuine, I think they have nothing to fear.
I agree.
For me, the clear answer is Islam.